Welcome in, everybody. Jason Matheny here from the mothership, all fired up. We are on the precipice of Grand National. Gosh, I don't even know what number it is 47, 48. It's a big number.
I think it's 44. I think it's like 2 years older
44.
than me.
Okay, yeah. Checking the numbers here. You'd think I would prepare this, right? I think it's 43 now that I'm looking at it because Virginia
Okay.
Beach looks like it was 41. So that would make this one Grand National 43 on the way here in Deadwood, South Dakota. Half of this illustrious podcast crew is making their way there. Still working on you, Terry, but hopes are getting thinner by the day. But you did have some live cribbage over the weekend.
Yeah, so I went to Iowa and flight was good, no issues there. I booked a small car because theoretically, you're going to get better gas mileage, right?
Sure.
And I'm a small person, so I fit into a small car. Okay. And I ended up with a Tacoma because they were out of small cars. So that was cool. I hadn't driven one. I didn't really like the bucket seats. They felt more like bench seats. So that's my only minor complaint about it. And if you've never been to Iowa, do you think it's flat or rolling hills?
I figured it was mostly flat. I know is it really hilly?
It's kind of hilly, like not massive hills, but it's not flat. It's definitely not flat, at least in the Des Moines area. So that kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. And it was just a short hour drive. I think I stopped at Walmart halfway because I like to get my groceries and all that. And yeah, so yeah, it was kind of fun. The hotel was, it wasn't like the fanciest hotel, but it was clean, it was comfortable, staff was friendly, the playing room was large and bright and
All right,
all
that's all.
that.
That's all
So
you can ask for, right? We don't need to
yeah,
be in Hiltons or Ritz Carltons or Four Seasons or any of these like super swank places.
yeah.
If anything, sometimes those places make me feel uncomfortable because I feel like I'm like, okay, well, am I gonna trip on myself for something that looks silly? So
Yeah, and it's kind of an older layout, so I couldn't tell if there was even a second floor. So it was all first floor, which I love. I always try to get a first floor room because I like to use my own bathroom if possible. Um, but yeah, so that was cool, and I never want to sit next to Brian Gurdon again. No offense, Brian, but I lost. Oh my goodness. After game 11 in the Saturday main, I had 20 points, only needed to win 4 of my next 11, and I won 3.
oof.
So, biggest collapse I've ever had. You hear about it happening to other people. I've never been on that extreme end of it, but yeah. And then I go to take my seat in the Sunday morning consi. Brian's to my left again, and I promptly started that consi 0 for 4. So I won 3 out of 15 games. That was brutal. But the saving grace for the week, in the Friday afternoon consi, I took a grand slam into the final game and lost it pretty handily, but still qualified first overall. Hit the pools pretty good, and it more than covered the trip, and basically covered my flight tickets and rental car for my next trip. So
Hey, all right,
I,
there you go.
I,
That's a great weekend. It's not the MRP weekend you were looking for, but it's that anytime you break even on a cribbage weekend, I consider it a win.
yeah, I'd say I more than broke even. And of like my popcorn matches where I played guys multiple times, I was 3-0 against Jeff Shimp, which for me is good because I did not have good numbers against him coming into the weekend. So I'll take that. I was 1-1 against Scott Sand. Both of us blew the other one out. So they weren't fun tactical matches, but still undefeated lifetime against David Aiello. So credit to me for that. And
What
it
is
was
that, like 2-0 or something?
it's
What's undefeated
it's
lifetime?
exactly 2-0, but it's
Just
undefeated is
just
undefeated.
retire from cribbage now and just rub it. It's still go to the tournaments, but just don't play and just rub it in his face for it. I did that to an old friend in like high school. like he talked a lot of smack about Madden. Like Madden, right? For
Yeah.
those who don't, it's like a at that time I forget if it was like Super Nintendo or PlayStation or whatever you're playing it on. And like he talked so much smack, and then I beat him, and then refused to ever play him again. We're still friends, and I still claim 1-0 status against him. So, yeah, I vote for that. 2-0 against Davy Vowles. Just wrap it up.
Yeah. And then to wrap all that up, I was 0 for 2 against Jim Mahan. We're going to cover one of those hands later in the 6 or 8 that we do. And Les Caveen, I can't remember. He tossed me out of the consi that I in the final 4. We'll cover a hand from that as well. And he might have beat me in a qualifier, so I might have only been 1 out of 4 against him. But fantastic player.
Did you? Yeah, Les is good. Les is good. Kind of underappreciated. He won one of the events in Deadwood. Did you deal? Did you win the deal in the con? Because I always hate in cons. You qualify high, and you just go cut the deck, lose the deal, and you feel like you're so far behind already.
I don't remember. I did win the first game, so that's all I remember as far as how it started.
Okay, that's one of those. We talked about this before. If there's like one rule in cribbage I would change, I want the higher seed to have the deck. Just it'll never pass, or it won't without a large effort. But to me, that's one of the more unfair rules in our game. Well, glad it was a good time. What is it? You also mentioned in the main, no 28s made it. I want to say
correct.
That's wild.
David Aiello had this insane finish where he scored 15 points in the last 6 games. So I think that's 3 or 4 skunks. I don't know.
3 skunks. Yep, that's right.
Yeah. And one other thing about it, just in case I forget, there's it hasn't really been discussed yet, but a few of us were kind of speculating that facility could be perhaps the next Central Grand National. I don't know. I mean, it's a big playing room. There's other hotels nearby. That was the other great thing is it's very walkable in that area because they have big sidewalks that go along the main corridors there. You just crossing the street perhaps might be difficult, but with a few people, to stop traffic, I think it would be fine for everyone. Honestly, we walked to a steakhouse. I went out to dinner with Scott Sand, his father, and Chad, and had a pretty good steak actually. So it's a very good area, and I think it'll get some consideration.
Okay, good. Yeah, I know that's part of what's coming up at Grand National during the board meeting. Is they will assign the next white smoke will emerge, and they will name the next location of the Grand National, which will be a central one. I've heard some I don't know, like word here or there, places where it could end up being. But yeah, we will see where it emerges from that. Speaking of Grand National, that's kind of next thing on our docket here. By the way, glad you had a good time. And this was in, you just said Iowa. Was it a particular, which city was it? Des Moines or something else? Or?
It was in a city called Marshalltown, which was about an hour northeast of Des Moines, and it was an easy commute. It's all highway, so
okay, all right, peace kid, cool. Well, for this Grand National coming up, I wanted to kind of run through my, I don't know what you would call it, like guide for those who have never been there. You've never been to Deadwood, because you've never been, Terry Cushman, right? That's one of the events
I haven't
set foot in. I want to, but there's probably a bunch like you, but those who are actually going. And I wanted to give some, at least an insider's look. I've been there, I don't know, like 3 times now, maybe 4 times, I think. Wanted to give just idea of some things for people to do while they are there outside of cribbage. So just kind of the insider's guide, right? I feel like not overly snooty in my tastes, but just if you want some of the good stuff, right? So I start with restaurants because I'm kind of a foodie type. So couple of things on my list that I like in particular. There's one called the Hidden Gem, if you will, I would say is the Deadwood Social Club, which is kind of like an Italian / steakhouse place. It's in the top of one of the casinos. I believe that Saloon Number 10 is the name of that one. Apparently, that one, some of these places used to be owned by Kevin Costner. I forget which one specifically it is, but that place, fantastic. They have on the appetizer menu. Here's the insider's info, everybody. Okay, on the appetizer menu, there is a steak tips with like chimichurri sauce, which is really, really delicious. I would recommend it. Just have it as an entree. There's good steaks there too, but I really like that place. And if you're looking for something fancy too, Jake's Fine Dining. Now you don't have to get overly dressed up. I remember I was there in like a t-shirt, a pair of jeans. As long as your money's. I like this era of where places are not throwing you out for the clothes you're wearing, right? Like if your money's green, they don't care as long as you wear at least like, not in flip flops or like cargo shorts or whatever it is. But even then, they probably let people. We had a really nice dinner last year. It was like me and Wendy Fuso and Patrick and Linda Barrett and John Hazlett. It was right after Patrick Barrett beat me in the finals, and then somehow I still picked up the check. Which in hindsight, I don't know why I let that happen, but so be it. But I did have a very good weekend. But that place is fantastic. I think it's the best steakhouse in Deadwood, so I would really recommend that. A lot of people speak highly of Legends Steakhouse. I did not care for it. I had to like send my steak back. It was just not good. It felt like they were it was like a Wednesday night, Terry, and they felt a little overtaxed for like the staff. You know what I mean? It just felt like it was one of those things to try to get like a server for something. You felt like you were being like a big jerk. So those are the food establishments. Let me run really quick through the rest of them. Coffee and breakfast spots. There's a really neat place. It's called Pump House Coffee and Deli, and it is half coffee shop and half studio where they do like blown glass. So you can literally like sit down, have a coffee, and watch somebody make a piece of art. It gets a little warm in there, as you can imagine. Like what blown glass is, right?
Yeah.
So it's a neat thing. If you ever seen anybody like use it with like the oven and they're moving around the things with the gloves and the big iron rods and all those things. It's really, really cool.
I think I've seen it on YouTube. You know those videos, it'll have nothing to do with that, but they'll be doing that on the side for some reason as they're doing their normal content. I don't know.
Maybe you're watching different. I mean, I know you're watching different YouTube videos than I am, but we're not talking about that on this program. But I'm very curious of your folks that are like wearing the tinfoil hats and then breaking out their blown glass as they're talking about whatever it is that you're saying doesn't exist or should exist or is, the reptiles or
the moon landing.
Yeah.
But,
moon landing.
But anyway, I don't know if I've ever seen exactly that, but there's, I'll show you an example at some point. I'll be like, see, this is what I meant.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's a really neat place. I guess I shouldn't judge because I'm literally talking about somebody doing two things in the same. They're making coffee and they're doing blown glass. Neat little spot. Food's fine. They'll throw a bagel out there for you, but it's mostly about the coffee. And they have a cute little like gift shop. And that's also a good little insider's like gift shop place. Like if you want to buy a blown glass, like Christmas ornament or ashtray. I don't know what people do with like blown glass items, but use your imagination. Not in that way, but anyway, that's a cool little place. Also a neat little breakfast spot. There's one called the Gold Country Inn, I believe is the name of it. And it's just this little greasy diner breakfast, get the hash browns, get the eggs and bacon kind of place. Neat little place. And if you are looking for something a little off kilter or different, there's a place called, this is the actual name of the place. It's called Lulu Bomdiggities. And it sells like, do you know what a pasty is, Terry Cushman?
No.
It's like a hand pie, like a savory hand pie. So think of it like a chicken pot pie, but condensed so you can like hold it in your like a hot pocket, right? So that kind of a thing. I think that's where like hot pockets were born from. So they sell a lot of like those things. I think they have breakfast ones too, but neat little spot there. Let's see, casual places. There's a brew house there called Jacob's Brew House. And then if you're looking for like ultra casual, there's a Mustang Sally's, which is like a, like cheeseburgers and French fries, kind of like a Johnny Rockets style of place. If you've ever heard of those ones, those are neat. And then the last thing I have is tourist spots. Now, some of these I have been to, some of these I have not. So I'm trying to like name stuff that I've actually like witnessed or been to or this or that. By the way, suggestions on these things certainly welcome in the mailbox. cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. Main Street. There's just like a general Main Street in Deadwood. So I don't think there are any gunfights going on, right? You don't hear like the good, the bad, and the ugly, like whistling and people doing things. But it's a neat little place where you can walk around, just find all these little shops. Like avoid the horrible tourist ones, the ones with the t-shirts and the coffee mugs and the whatever, right? The meme shirts, the whatever it is. But there's some, cute little like art places or whatever it is, something just different things. And then these other four I have not been to, but have either come recommended or looking them up. One is called Mount Moriah Cemetery, which is where like Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane were buried. There's also a Adams House, which is a free admission kind of like museum of a lot of that kind of stuff for that area. And also not too far, there's Custer State Park and the Crazy Horse Memorial, which I can't even read my own notes on this stuff. And then also, like I know I am traveling and I'm going to the Teddy Roosevelt National Park, which is about 3 hours away. So if you have a car and you have a dead day and you want to do that, that might be a neat thing to do. I will surely report back on this program how much I liked that or didn't. But I know Sarah and I think Wendy Fuso is going to come with us. We're going to do that as like a little excursion, a little side trip. So that'll be neat. Side note, also my rental car apparently for this trip is a minivan. So we will see how that goes. Although you said you were starting with like a compact car and ended up with a toy taco, as they call it, the Toyota Tacoma. So
yeah, I mean, and I had a mid-afternoon landing. I probably got to the counter there at about 4. So if you're getting there earlier, maybe your odds are better. But
I mean, I believe me, I would rather drive almost anything other than a minivan. But when I went to go reserve, it was by far the cheapest thing. And weirdly, like I went to go look at the stuff now to try the cancel rebook thing, and like the minivan is by far the most expensive thing. But all the prices are like more than what I have locked in for it. So I think we're going to stick with the minivan. So if any kids want to tote along with us, and as we go to any of these like food places, there'll be apparently plenty of space. So just insiders view on this. The hotel is very nice. There's a nice little sports bar in there. There is a trolley, so don't plan on just like walking down from your hotel to like Main Street, stuff like that, because it's almost like down a mountain. It's something where it's like, unless you are in really, really good like hiking shape, I wouldn't recommend that. And I even saw like rams on the side of the road the last time I was there. So if you're doing that, maybe exercise some cautions. Like, those like bighorn rams, they are a little terrifying. Like they're much like, as I was driving by them, I go, it's not as big as the car that I'm in, but it's pretty big. One last thing. If you are coming in, there is a shuttle from Rapid City Airport to the actual hotel if you're staying at the lodge. But you need to call them. And, it's not a short drive. It's like, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So it's really great that the hotel provides that. So I'll give a shout to the lodge on that one. So that's the Jason Matheny Insider's Guide to Deadwood, just providing this as a service to the folks listening to the program who are going up to Deadwood. So give that a shot. Okay. So jump here to the fantasy draft for the week. And with it being close to Grand National, we're doing, I guess, we did sites we'd like there to be Grand Nationals in the future. Now we're going to do Grand Nationals. And Terry Cushman, when I was putting my list together for this, I was taking into account like all of the things, right? So the location, how nice it was, the hotel, all the things around it, maybe even for me, a little selfishness, like how my cards were. Like I will, without giving spoilers to my list, there is one of these that is dead on cursed for me. One of these locations, so it is like hardcore scratched off my list. Like I would not take it. I've been to 12 Grand Nationals now, and I think I would take it 13th. Of the ones that I've been to. So it's that bad of a time. Nothing against the actual place, by the way. Just want to give that as a note. So
Well, I want to know what it is at the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be one that you're going to select, but we'll do it. So we're going to do 4, and apparently I have lost the historic nickel. For now, at least it'll turn up just like a coin does here or there. But Terry, you've got the coin to flip here.
Yeah, I've got a quarter here.
Okay.
1991 is the year.
Okay. So my sister was born. Okay.
So that would have been, I can do the math on the fly, Grand National number 10, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. So I have no idea where that was, but
Fort Lauderdale, Florida, apparently. Grand
oh,
National. By the way, just before we go through this, I think both of us are going to pick the ones that we've been to and this and that. But it is neat to look through the list. There is a site for it on the Cribbage.org site of some of the places where there have been one. And that maybe was the one that was the most surprising to me is Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I feel like I wouldn't have guessed that had been a former Grand National site. So anyway, without further ado, flip the coin here.
All right, what are you taking?
I'm going to change it up and take tails.
It is heads.
It's a heads. Oh,
heads.
Okay. It's a head. All right. So you want first pick, or are you going to take the sandwich picks this week?
I always go first.
All right. So,
all right. I'm not going to take a safe one. If you pick one of mine, then so be it. But I have to go with my favorite one. And that's going to be 2017. Lincoln City. Yeah, that's probably only the second time I'd ever been west. Reno was the only other time, and that was in September. The weather was really nice, and my girlfriend was with me on that trip. It's really the only cribbage trip she's gone to where we got on an airplane and went. And we did a lot of just random things. We went hiking, we went whale watching. We went out to we were on the whale watch with Dave Stats and Mary Burlington, and I got so sick, and I didn't normally I didn't actually get sick, but I was on the verge.
My seasick. Yeah.
My complexion was way different than normal, but I recovered well, and we went to a restaurant shortly after, and I was fine. I had my appetite, so all was fine. But even Stats was struggling on that one, and other people. I think it's because it was overcast and the horizon wasn't super visible. So, but that was the weird thing. But it was just a fun trip. It's the furthest I've ever made it in a Grand National performance wise. I got into the final 8. Mike Kroom knocked me out, and then he went on to the finals and lost to Kevin Mansfield. But it was a nice facility, and coastal Oregon is just a really cool area, and I enjoyed it. And we landed in Portland and then had to drive at least 2 or 3 hours, so it was a really scenic drive as well.
It is a beautiful drive. Yeah, I was going to note that.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
and the ocean is freezing, so I don't think anybody went for a dip in that. But yeah, I was glad I went, and if it ever went back there, I would definitely go, and I would highly recommend anybody else going.
Yeah, great call on that one. It was 100% on my list for all the reasons that you said. Just beautiful, scenery out there. And I live in Houston. It's flat here, so to drive around and see the views of everything that was going on out there, just really, really lovely. There's a cute little cafe also called the Otis Cafe. If anybody ever goes out to that zone, apparently it burned down, but supposedly they put it back up, and it's like a breakfast spot, and they also will sell burgers and milkshakes or whatever it is. But just a really lovely spot. A really, really well run Grand National.
Credit to the Shays. I should have mentioned them because they were the directors of it.
Yeah, they drink everything. So shout to the Shays on those. Okay. All right. Well, you stank me on that one, but I give credit to that. So, all right, my first pick is going to be my first Grand National that I went to. And the year for that was 2012, and that is Appleton, Wisconsin. I was a wee young buck in the cribbage community, a very young 32 years old. Had no idea what I was stepping into. like pop into the hotel. Just had a wonderful time. Just small town America, Appleton. Like Gary McCuskey took me around a little bit because he knew, being from Minnesota, he kind of knew like Wisconsin a little bit. Like we drove and we saw like the Packers stadium, which was neat, which is one of the most damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life, where you were just driving around like a city and it's like house, football stadium, like it just out of the blue. It's like in a neighborhood almost. But yeah, Appleton was just my absolute favorite. Sat next to Kathy Perkins in the main, and she kicked ass. I was terrible, and I always joke that she's trying to sell me on Raleigh like the whole time. If she, tried selling Amway as hard as she spent selling me on Raleigh, she'd probably be a millionaire. But it worked, and I did go to Raleigh going forward. So, but yeah, Appleton's just great. All right. And by the way, that one you did not go to, Terry Cushman?
I didn't. I hadn't really traveled out of state all that much, and maybe actually only like 2 times ever out of Maine at that point. Yeah.
Okay.
Or actually, that was 2012, so I lied. Actually, I guess I had just started doing that in 2011, but it was kind of early, and I'd never gotten on an airplane though, for sure, to go to a tournament. So,
hey, Cribbage has opened your horizons. All right, neat. Okay, all right. So my second pick is going to be an East Coast one. I'm going to take Bethesda, Maryland.
that was a good one.
And that one was oh shoot. By the way, I want to give a shout to to be honest, I don't remember who ran the Appleton one, so shame on me for not knowing that one. I'll look it up. I'll buy that person a beer. They're still around. But Bethesda, Maryland is my second pick, and I know that one was run by Bruce Sadler, and that was, to me, that was a great Grand National. I was married at the time, and she and I both went to this one. It was kind of an old stomping grounds for me because I had lived in actually Bethesda, like in the DC area, for so many years, for like 6 years. And so it was neat to like go see old friends and still play cribbage and do the things. Beautiful, beautiful hotel. Maybe the best venue that I've ever seen for a Grand National. Like Bruce has got a bit of a silver tongue, to say the least. So like the deal that he got on that really, really lovely hotel, for as cheap as that was, is I don't think that'll ever happen again in like cribbage circles. Like no disrespect to any other Grand Nationals, I just feel like that one in particular, it's great. I still remember also in the main of that one, it was the year after I won the one that I did. I rallied to get all the way to the last game in qualifying, and then got beat by a club member of mine in game 22. And not that I expected them to tank the game or anything like that, but it was just like, bummer, I didn't even qualify this time.
Yeah, that one I attended as well. I don't think I probably would have had it on my list, but I did. It was a fun trip. Probably my favorite roommate of all time. No disrespect to all the rest, but I was rooming with Lee Dillon, and the Red Sox playoffs happened to be going on right around then. So we'd be playing cribbage. We both rushed back up to the room, watched the games. They didn't end well, unfortunately, but that part was fun. You mentioned just missing qualifying. I was one of the low qualifiers. I had a 27-12, and I lost my last game. Ooh. And thought I blew it. Because 12 wins, that's a very dirty 27. And so I just kind of went up to the room. I was all depressed, like not like severely, but I was pretty bummed.
Yeah, it's you just missed, right? I'd rather have a 10-5 than like a 27-12, assuming you miss, right? It's just, so been there.
And Lee happened to be down in the tournament room, and I wasn't motivated to go down just to see if, the 20% chance I might have had. And he looked at the list and he called me. And he goes, "You made it." And I said 2017 was the furthest I got. That was the second furthest I got, round of 16. Fred White knocked me out, just absolutely steamrolled me 3-0. And
he won it.
He ended up beating Jeff Shimp in the finals. And I think I jinxed myself because I had Pat Barrett in the first round, and I was kind of nervous about that. He's extremely accomplished, very good player. And I was very early into my teardown. Like I had kind of made some progress at that point, but only about a year into it. So, but I beat Pat 3-0. I said, oh, the same thing's probably going to happen to me. And sure enough, 3 or 4 rounds later, Fred got me pretty good. And Fred actually knocked me out of another one later on. So he's knocked me out of 2 Grand Nationals.
Fred's a character of cribbage for sure. Maybe Hall of Fame worthy at some point. That's another discussion for another show. Okay, so you get the next 2 picks here. So go right ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the first one I ever played, which was in 2007 in Portland, Maine. I think technically Dave Campbell was the director, but usually the souls are, equally. They're all kind of running it together back in those days. So 400 players at that one. The kind of neat thing about it was, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but I was actually the bellboy at the Overflow Hotel, which actually hosted the midweek tournament. And so I was literally working some of the hours that the cribbage players were arriving. So I was picking them up from the airport in the shuttle and bringing them back to the hotel and playing them, over the course of the week. And my boss was pretty good about letting me play whatever tournaments I wanted. And I had probably only played maybe 3 or 4 actual ACC tournaments outside of grassroots. And I always thought that those tournaments were big, when you have 70 to 100 players in the room. I mean, that feels big to me. And then this event, the whatever number that was, Grand National 26, I'm guessing, because I was 24 that year. I don't know. It just felt, I'm like, I didn't know cribbage could get that big. And I didn't do well in it. I didn't qualify. I did qualify for the midweek, but got knocked out, ironically, to the winner of that one. His name was Charlie Rogers. He was from Hawaii. I think he passed away not long after that, within a couple of years. But Eric Locke went on to win that Grand National. And the funny thing was I don't recall ever seeing him that week. I mean, there were just so many people. 400 people is a lot for the East. And so that was my first taste of how big cribbage can get. And it kind of set the tone for all the other Grand Nationals I went to in the future.
Yeah, Eric Locke maybe stick out a little bit in the cribbage room back then from an age perspective, as did you, I'm sure. So especially 2007,
yeah.
I know there have been like literal children who have played events, right? So I'm sure, I don't know what the record is for the youngest to play a Grand National. It's probably a 10-year-old or something like that that's played it, but it's you at what would you say, 24 years old or whatever it is you were.
Yeah, and I always looked so young for my age back then.
Still now you look like a baby now, Terry. Good for you. So,
I've gotten really gray, but I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, not bad. So, all right, so you got one more pick here before I get 2 more in a row here. So go ahead.
Okay, the next one I'm gonna go with is Milwaukee 2018. Terry Weber directed that one with the help of Patrick Barrett and some other Central players. I'm sure Aiken was a big part of that. And the cool thing about that wasn't even necessarily cribbage related. I did have a decent week. I think I qualified in the midweek, and in fact, I did. I went to the final 4 of the midweek one, and Al Carr knocked me out. I would have played Voldemort in the finals had I gotten past, but yeah. And I played Al Carr, by the way, a couple of times in Iowa. Great guy, so fun to play. I'm a big fan of him. But anyway, so and then awkwardly in the Grand National Maine in the playoffs, my ex-girlfriend's dad knocked me out in the very first round. So
how was that? How was the table talk on that one?
Credit to Rick Pierce. So Rick and I have always gotten along before, during, and after, and so it was okay. And I eventually got my revenge on him in a consolation in New Hampshire. I knocked him out of a consolation playoff. So, but Rick's a fun guy, and I don't see him that often. I've seen him a couple of times in the last couple of years, but yeah, so he tossed me out. And but the real cool thing about it is, as you guys know, I'm a big baseball guy, and I went to at the time it was called Miller Park. I think it's called American Family Field now, where the Brewers play. I'd never seen a baseball game in a dome before, and this was late September, and the playoffs were about to start. And as fate would have it, the Boston Red Sox went on to win the World Series that year. And had the Brewers beaten the Dodgers in Game 7 of the NLCS, they would have played the Red Sox. So that would have been cool. But and the other cool thing was, and you wouldn't think this was cool, but it ended up being really cool. I didn't get my tickets when everybody else got them. Fred White was there, Maryland. Henry, I forget Henry's name, but he's from Wisconsin or Minnesota. Oh, I just played him this weekend. He wears overalls a lot, so everyone listening right now from the Central is going to know exactly who. And Adam Schweitzer was there, but I didn't get my ticket with them, so I had to sit with a bunch of Brewers fans. I had my Red Sox jersey on, and wondering, if that was going to be cool or not, but they were. And so I don't know. It was a fun week. And then after that, technically not related to the event anymore, I went to Chicago with Dan Selke and went to Wrigley Field. So I had never been there, and that's probably the second most historic park, currently outside of Fenway. So it was a really fun trip. And I met Kelly Holt, actually, who's one of my best friends on Cribbage Pro. And, we interact on Facebook. So it was cool to kind of meet one of my Cribbage Pro nemesis.
Idols, right?
Or
Never meet your
something.
heroes, Terry Cushman.
He's a fun guy, and I wasn't prepared for the fact that he seemed like he was 7 feet tall, because towered over me. Like you wouldn't know that just by playing on the app. But yeah, that was a real fun week, and the Central guys did a good job running it.
Yeah, I agree. Well run tournament, and yeah, I had a good time out there. I went to some weird bar, and they had some weird game you could play for money. I can't remember what it was. It involved dice, and I want to say the place was called like the Screen Door or something like that. It's this really weird, like kind of divey but cool spot, and they had pretty good food. And I think we ended up going there twice. We liked it so much. So yeah, that's a good pick of those. All right, so I get the next two to select here. And it's still killing me that you took Lincoln City as that first one, because that was 100% going to be one of my picks. I don't want to be too self-serving with this. All right, I'm going to take Nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it? Okay.
I'm not going to be that guy. Listen, let's be honest with each other about this podcast, Terry. I've won a Grand National, okay? It was great. I was super happy about it. But I don't want to be one of these guys that pats myself on the back like over and over again, finds ways to bring it up and this and that. It was neat that it happened. Also, is literally now 10 years ago. But no, I'm going to pick my favorite ones, not just because of the results. It's got to be like the whole experience. Also, by the way, we're going to go off on a little side adventure here. I'll make my picks quickly. We'll be as colorful, but like that weekend, for that Grand National in Yankton, South Dakota, I had the worst week of work right before that. The short version of the story is there was going to be a big shakeup in our office, and the team that used to work under me was going to get shifted to this other supervisor who was the one that everybody hated in the office. It was like the meanest hard ass for no reason in the entire office, right? And my boss directly told me, you cannot tell them until I give you the thumbs up that this is going to happen. And it was going to happen right before I'm leaving on this trip, right? And I keep waiting, and I keep waiting, and I keep waiting, and I keep waiting. And one of the people is somebody who I'm a really close friend with, but my boss specifically told me, you cannot tell anybody that this is going to happen, especially not this guy, right? So like my flight to leave is at like 3:00. And I have to take like 2 airports and a drive to get to Yankton. And at about 1:15, keep in mind, my flight is at 3 o'clock, and I'm an early airporter. Gives me the thumbs up. So I have to pull these people in a room, give them this horrible news, and then immediately go, well, all right, I'm about to leave on some time off. See y'all later. Flew that Friday, did those like airports, drove into Yankton, played the main on Saturday, played the playoffs on Sunday, and then immediately drove back to Omaha to fly back like Monday morning at like 4 a.m. or whatever it was. So like I didn't get to spend a lot of time there. It's not, so it's a great time, but like that little side story of like that's the chaos that was. It was miserable. I hated it. By the way, that guy didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks afterwards. He was so mad that I didn't give him a heads up. And it's just business, right? When the boss directly tells you an order, it's like when you get the code red, you got to do it. So anyway, all right, back to my picks here. I'll go a little quicker here. All right. My next one I'm going to select here. I'm going to take the most recent one. I'm going to take Las Vegas. How can you not pick a Las Vegas Grand National? It was a great venue. It was, I don't know, just like, it's in a casino, right? But I mean, I know there have been Grand Nationals and casinos before, but just had a great time. I hit jackpots on this one slot machine 3 times that weekend. And I'm not a big slot machine player. I try not to. I feel dumb when I play slot machines. But like the casino is beautiful. It's Vegas. We were able to get to the Strip a few times, do some things. The room was great and huge and wonderful. So, and I believe the Shays were the directors of that one as well, or maybe I'm blowing that. I know Rick won it, so I guess I'm mixing that up. I don't think they were the directors of.
It might have been Aiken, actually. No, it was Troy. It was Troy and
that's
Kathy.
right, Troy Thorson. Yeah, I want to give
credit
to Troy and Kathy for running. And in fact, I believe Troy did not even play in the main, so credit to him for that. So he spent all this time doing it, didn't even play it. Rick Shea beat Kendra in the finals, and Kendra knocked me out in the round, I think, of either 16 or 8 or something like that. We had just this like bare knuckle battle. It was just one of those where every card were just fighting tooth and nail. Still the best match I've ever had, and I lost it 4-2. But that was just such an incredible time and just a good event. So that has to be my third pick on that one. And then the last one I'm going to take, again, going to avoid the self-serving on this one. What was the last one? I'm going to take Atlanta. Again, kind of a young buck at that time, but just, again, great venue. Dave O'Neill ran it, or rest in peace, Dave. But just great city, kind of up in like northern Atlanta. Just beautiful venue. I want to say I got smashed the whole week. Right. I maybe hadn't deconstructed my game at that point, but I don't know if I qualified in anything the entire time. But again, just such a good zone, good place that I really liked it. The only thing that bummed me out on that one is I felt like there weren't that many people there. I wish the West Coasters would maybe travel a little more for some of those. And it's Atlanta, right? Like if you can't get to Atlanta, like try not to get to Atlanta from a flight going east. Just, good luck. Like, right. It's the most traveled airport in the literal world, Atlanta.
It is. So. Yeah, Beijing is number 2, to put it into perspective. Atlanta's number 1. You just sniped me twice, by the way. I would have taken Vegas or Atlanta. Atlanta.
Not trying to make your life hard, Terry.
That's okay.
One of these days we'll work a trade up in this. It's like, okay, I want your next pick and a third round pick in a future fantasy draft.
And number 1 3 weeks from now. But the one cool thing about Atlanta was that was the first tournament where I got on an airplane to go to a tournament.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah, and you had to ride the MARTA train up, but I didn't go with any. Well, the Hardys went, but they weren't on my flight, and I don't think I really committed to it until like a week and a half, 2 weeks out. And I got paired up with the worst roommate I've ever had. I'm not going to say the person's deceased now, but I'm still not going to say who it was on the air.
All right, off air show.
Yeah, and it wasn't like terrible, but it was annoying, and probably the only bad roommate I've ever had, honestly. But and then so I thought that hotel was nice. I would say that's one of the nicer ones, honestly, if you remember it. But there was tons to do. I wished I took more advantage of it. You could have went to the Coca-Cola factory. I could have went to a Braves game. I did not take advantage of it like I should have. I had the most miserable week ever throughout the midweek. For some reason, they had tons of satellites, more than I've ever seen at a Grand National, like 2 or 3 a day. And I was just getting killed. I got killed in the main. And then finally on Sunday in the consolation, my luck turned around and I qualified pretty good. I had a 15 card after 9 games. I didn't really know what side pools were at that point, so unfortunately I was not in them. But I got all the way to the finals and faced off against David Butte, who was far and away a better player than I was. And I want to say he blew me out 2-0. I don't believe I won a match, but I had to play Jim Clark. I've met him. He's kind of a cool guy from the West, a fun guy to, have a 20-minute conversation with. I played Valerie Nozick in the first round, and funny story about that. She beats me game 1. I win game 2. And then she says, I'm going to change the deck. So she goes and gets one. And then she goes, and I actually have to go to the bathroom. So she sets the new deck on the cribbage board. And a couple of guys who I didn't know at the time, and I don't remember who they are now, one of them whispered over to me and said, go switch it back. And I thought about it, but I was like, I'd feel kind of dirty. And I ended up obviously winning that because I, went all the way to the finals. But would have been cool if I won it. Mary Burlington won the main that year, so it would have been a New England sweep, which would have been cool. But I was happy to get that far. And Dave was cool. He agreed to a chop with me. It was like 900 versus $1,200, so something like that. So fun experience. I got killed for some reason. They did. I think the midweek was actually after it. Technically, it was on Monday. Jack Hauser did that one, but I got killed in that one. But the Consi saved me, and it was a lot of fun. I probably have I not been to Virginia Beach a bunch of times, since I've moved here. That one might have, because it was a really cool area, cool venue right on the beach. That would have been cool, but I just been there so many times it just doesn't stand out. But it was very well run, and I don't remember doing a ton, but yeah.
Right,
But that's
so
all
what's your
I've
last
got.
pick?
I didn't pick it. Oh my god.
No, I took Atlanta, so you can't. So
That's
you got
why
one more to go here.
I was doing the honorable mentions. All right, so my last pick would be 2019 Conway, New Hampshire. That was kind of crazy how that materialized. It was supposed to be in Orlando, and Paul Barnes was going to host that one down in Orlando, but there was a problem where he had to put a non-refundable deposit down, and it was hurricane season, and it just sounded kind of dicey. So I don't blame him for pivoting. And then Conway ended up becoming, the site for it, and that was a nice hotel as well, which we'd played at a bunch of times up in New England. But the cool thing I remember about that was I lost 8 of my first 10 games and rallied to come back. I had a dirty 28, but all the 28s got in, luckily. And yeah. And they had a bunch of fun events. I think they did an actual Canadian doubles tournament at that with like playoffs even. And so that was kind of neat. I forgot who I teamed with, but it was a fun Grand National. I got to the final 4 of a Consi actually. Rick Shea knocked me out of that and went on to win it. I think that was the midweek Consi. So yeah, honestly, I've never been to a bad Grand National. They all do a hell of a job. Yeah, they've all been good, and I'm sure Deadwood will fall in line and maybe stand out for some people going forward.
Yeah, they're all great, no doubt of that. By the way, North Conway, is my cursed one.
Oh,
I almost lost my mind out there. My cards were so bad. Like every event, I was like a game short, and I was so tilted. And I was in a rough patch in my personal life, and like I still remember like after one of them, I just kind of I really didn't want to like freak out on anybody or like say anything I can't unsay or this or that. I remember I walked like it must have been like 4 miles each way or something like that, just to try to get my mind off of stuff. And I remember also I skipped the consolation because I was so pissed off. Like caught a ride with somebody back to Boston, um, because I was not flying until I wasn't even flying until Monday, but I just couldn't deal with playing any more cards. So yeah, North Conway is like my personal hellhole when it comes to cards. It's just cursed for me, is what I'm convinced of. But yeah, great tournament. My by the way, my one honorable mention. To be honest, I screwed up on my sheet. I thought I didn't take it, but Omaha was fantastic. Had the best time, and a little personal thing. It was right when I was first like I it was the first trip that Sarah came with me on, and we were like silly in love at that time and just had the greatest of time. It just went to the botanical gardens and had the most like special time. It's a little side thing, but it was great. So okay, all right, well, tell us your favorite Grand National and the stories that go along with it. We do enjoy kind of talking about these things, bringing some color to it. So I appreciate y'all letting us go a little long on that one, but yeah, send us your favorites at cribbagepodcast@gmail.com. All right, let's hit the mailbag really quick here. We may cut some of the hands short here because we're running a little long. So let me see what we have here. Jacob French emails, who is one of my personal nemesis in the cribbage circuit. It's one of these people I just can't seem to beat. Rick Pierce, although also one of those on that list. I think I'm like 0-4 against that guy. So he mentions his Grand National dream locations. He mentions his home area of Asheville, North Carolina. Mentions the Blue Ridge Parkway and leaf peepers. Don't know what that is. Are you a Carolina guy? Do you know what a leaf peeper is?
I think it's just in the autumn when the leaves start to change, and Asheville's up in the mountains, so they probably do have a nice autumn up there.
Okay. He also mentions Aspen or Estes Park, Colorado, and just says beautiful places to be at. Lots of nature to see, a little high in elevation, but beautiful to visit. Reno, Nevada, but also he mentions we all go to Reno every year, but says if we went just a little further to Lake Tahoe, that would be a lovely spot. I think that's a great suggestion. I don't know what kind of relationship we have with like if the sand or the J has like a resort up there, but that's a great idea. It just says it's really beautiful. He mentions Key West, Florida, says he hates beaches and hot weather, and then he's suggesting Key West, but that's another story. It says it'd be cool to go there. And then I think I'm saying this one right because I've heard this said before. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. If you don't know how that is spelled, Terry Cushman, you would never get Coeur d'Alene out of it.
I've seen it on the map. I know there's an apostrophe in there.
Yeah, there's all kinds of lake stuff, but just says the lake and the mountains surrounding it make a beautiful place to visit. And then Glacier National Park, not horribly far away, make this a great multi-week excursion. So great suggestions on those, Jacob. And yeah, like one of the national park access is a great thing. That's why Sarah and I are going to Teddy Roosevelt on this one. So I think those are really, really excellent suggestions. All right, let me see what other ones we have here. Robert Milk checks in, says, hi, Team Terry and Team Jason. He mentions in particular Orange-Stat, Aruba, which he says is right below the hurricane belt. I've never been to Aruba. I assume it's really pretty out there. I'm not a beach guy. I'm more mountains. So like all the tropical, like locale stuff is just not really for me. But he also mentions Philadelphia, Seattle, Charleston, South Carolina, Dallas, Texas, Lexington, Kentucky, Savannah, Georgia, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Santa Fe is really, really beautiful, by the way, if you've never been there. Cooperstown, New York. That might ring your bell there, Terry.
Yeah, I'd
and
be
then
game.
Monterey, California. You ever been to Cooperstown, being the baseball guy you are?
I haven't. And Dan Selke was just there last week. And I'm like, I've never been there. And he's like, I'm shocked. And I'm like, me too.
Yeah, that's interesting too. And he mentioned some future ideas for the fantasy draft board games, which we kind of did already. Childhood toys, your favorite vacation, your favorite song from each decade of your life, the worst car you own. That would be a neat one. and then just describing like the first card you ever had. So keep it the fun, Bob. Still gotta make a choice there, Bob, between Team Terry and Team Jason. So thank you for your contributions in that one. And I think that's all we have in terms of like mailbag. We do have some hands here, so we're gonna jump to those really quick here. And I don't know, we'll do like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them or something. We'll see how, I don't know, we go as long as we want, right, Terry? Like there's no limit on this damn show. There's a fast forward button. There's a 2x speed if you want it. Like you can do whatever the heck you want.
People are going to be sitting in airports, so if there's going to be a long one, this would probably be a good one.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are going to be listening to this or watching this either in an airport or on a plane, right? If a podcast you can download. I don't think you can download YouTube videos. I'm not a YouTuber. You're the hardcore YouTuber. Can you download stuff to watch?
I can, because I subscribe to the premium, so you can create your music playlist. I'm too cheap to buy the Wi-Fi when I'm on flight, so I'll download some like true crime stuff.
Of course you are. Of course you are. Like,
I know, exactly. So yeah, so that's what I did. I mean, Omaha, and where did I go? Des Moines wasn't a super long flight, but I downloaded 3 45-minute, true crime things, and that got me through the flights.
Okay. All right. So let's buzz through these hands here. And all right. So this first one was submitted by David Hayes. Shout out to David Hayes again in cribbage121.com for helping us with these. And so he submitted this one. So you can see it's for those not looking at the video element of it. So you are in hole 48 as non-dealer. Your opponent is dealing at hole 38. And the hand you have been dealt, these are like my least favorite hands of all the hands. 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9. I think I've had this one a couple of times. Do you have a particular way that you like to hold this one, Terry?
Yeah, I do. And because they're relatively out of position, I think I would do it my preferred way. Which would be to toss the 6-9 and go for the easy 6 cut here. 6-9, I'm probably quicker to throw that than a lot of people. You can give up a 12 or 16 crib by doing it, but it's not a common thing. I feel like most of the time they only get 6 out of it. And so that's what I would do with this one.
For their crib? You're seeing this right?
Yeah. Yep, for their crib. If they're handful of points out of position, I don't mind throwing that.
Wow, I am shocked, appalled. I want to end the stream. Like, are you sure you don't want to do over on this one?
If it was a closer game and I'm trying to hold them back a little bit, I'd probably throw 3-6.
Wow. Okay. All right. That we could not be further out of alignment on this one. So to me, to break down this position, right? You're in hole 48. I do agree, right? This is a spot. You're in a good spot. You should win this game far more often than you lose this game. The dealer is 5 points out of position. You are in hole 48, and you are getting nowhere near your next position, right? Which is hole 69 or 70, if depending on whose theory you kind of go with on this. But like I have no interest in throwing anything. There is no safe toss in this stupid game. Okay, let me be clear about that. There is no safe toss in cribbage. Anything can blow up. Anything can be. I think it's 14 points. I think there's a situation depending on what you have in your hand. I think you can. It's like 12 is the maximum, but 14 is essentially like the least that can be in a crib if everything goes against you. But in a spot like this, I don't even care if I keep a damn point. So in this spot, I am throwing 8-2. I'm holding 3, 5, 6, 9. I'm still keeping 2 points. I'd like to keep 2 points, but I have a 3 to lead that I can, if it gets paired, then I can just play the 9 on it, right? And potentially, right, if you play the 9 after that, then they play a face, and then you play the 6 or 31. Get some good pegging out of it. 8-2 is far safer than 6-9. I promise you on that. Anything can go wrong, but that one to me feels safer. And to me, just this position dictates safety, and 6-9 is kind of, it's not the most dangerous toss of this combination, but it's got to be like third or fourth, right? Like 2-3 has got to be the most unsafe. 5-6 probably second, maybe like 5-3 is third, but Like I know 8-9 can have some danger to it as well, but I am dead shocked right now, Terry, that that's the way that you're holding that one.
Yeah, I just want to have a shot at least 6 or so. I mean, if you cut a face, you'll get there. But yeah, I
Okay.
don't have a problem with 8 deuce though. I mean, like you said, you can protect yourself by leading the 3, and that's fine.
Okay. It's not often on this show I openly rip you or say openly that I think you're dead wrong, but I think on this one you're dead wrong. Just
Okay, fair
disagree.
enough.
Like I think I might throw 6-9 to this one. Okay, just random, just because it's come up. Position neutral. If this is your crib, do you just throw the 2-3? Is it 5-6? Like what do you?
Yeah, I probably would, and even that feels annoying, but I would throw deuce 3 if it were my crib.
Okay, yeah, we can agree at least. This part we can agree on is I hate it when you have all number cards and none of them go together, um, and I hate it especially when it's like sometimes in cribbage I just want a bad hand where it's like okay I can just throw king 10 and just be done with it, right? And you do not, it's like to hold anything you have to throw something a little risky like queen 10 or jack 9 or something like that. So those are to me the most like frustrating ones. Okay, move on. Let's see if we can find one that is a little more uh, agreeable to us. So all right, so this one was submitted by, let me scroll down
Me.
here. This is another, this is a Terry hand. Okay, all right, well, so for those not listening, or for those not watching, I should say, so you are in hole 40. Your opponent is dealing in hole 52, and you are dealt the lovely one of 2, 3, 3, 4, 9, 9. Huh. So I try not to look at these too much before the show because I want to treat it like I just got dealt this in this spot, right? And talk through my process. Um, this is a good one. This is tricky because I don't know if position dictates to you. Like you're already behind 12 points, right? Like there's no way I'm getting anywhere near hole 60 here unless something really special happens. Ooh, um, I think I have to toss the 4-2 in this spot. I've got 2 3s and 2 9s in my hand. I feel like it is. I hate holding hands like that because I feel like there's so little to cut to, but I'm getting 8 points without the risk of throwing the 2 9s. So I would say 4-2 is my medium feel in this one. I would throw that to my opponent's crib.
Okay. So this is the hand that essentially knocked me out of the constellation. I was playing Les Cavine. And like I said, I mean, he's probably going to get more and more prominent here in the coming months and years because he's got more time to play. But he is a fantastic player. There's not really a weakness in his game. I would say he's on the more aggressive side of the spectrum, much like I am. And, a very intense game every time I play him, it feels like. So, and let me say, going into this hand, I had a pegging sequence against him where I had 3, 4, 8, 8. Doesn't sound like the most harmful hand to possibly hold.
That one could
And
go really wrong. Yeah.
okay, well, it did. Then I led the 4, thinking no big deal, and I got outpegged 10-0. I'm not exaggerating, 10-0. And that was a hand or two before this hand. So I'm kind of rattled as I'm trying to figure this out. I think I'd calm down enough. I actually held the double run. I held deuce 3, 3, 4, chucked the 9s to the crib. We cut the 3, and it was a little annoying because I would have had 20 had I held it your way. I felt 3, 3, 9, 9 is a tough hand to cut into. It's also not the best pegging hand, so that was kind of my logic with going with the double run here. So um so I had 17 with the 3 cut. I think I led the 3. I want to say I pegged at least 3 points. I didn't peg a ton, but I'd say it was at least 3, and I think I got about to the corner. And he had a decent hand, not a huge one, but when he flipped over his crib,
Uh-oh.
He also threw 2 9s, so he had quad nines in his crib on
Wow.
that throw, and that sank me. Had I pegged a little less by keeping the 3 3 9 9, but had a few more points in the
I
hand,
mean, that's a 9 crib, even if you throw it my
he
way, right?
he
If you
would
throw it
have.
2, so at least in how
Yeah,
I'm breaking this one down, right? He's dealing in hole 52,
yeah.
7 points, the 7 to 9 points, depending on how, you want to look at the position ahead of where he needs to be, right? So you have to really put out a stopper there in order to keep him from doing anything here. Like it sounds like you were just cursed on that one, but I just think this is like a must defense spot. It's a little earlier than I like to play position, but it's 8 either way. Eh, just the way I see it.
My normal mindset in that spot is, especially when I have a hand that has decent potential, I just want to try to get around that corner if I can, and then continue to chip away, in the next 3 or 4 hands. But it just, yeah, it was a perfect storm, and he beat me, and he played well. Like I said, he out pegged me before that hand 10-0. Like he straight up outplayed me, and that's all I can say about that.
When that happens, right? There's something to be said about when that happens. You play somebody and you just tip your hat and respect. Hey, you. I feel like you outplayed me today. Like
He
you're sure
did.
as hell not going to outplay me tomorrow, but you got me today, right? Like, or there's nice ways to say that. Like it's context of who it is and how they are. Just curious, right? 2 3 3 4. Right? You hold a hand like that, and you're playing somebody like Les. Do you consider maybe ever not leading the three? Right? Like especially certain players, you just kind of change it up a little bit because I feel like a lot of players like that. I need not an edge, but like right, lead the two because in a spot like this, I don't think they're going to pair a lot of cards having a lead like that unless they just have like a pretty mediocre dead hand, which might be the reason to lead the three. But in this spot, sometimes maybe go a little unorthodox, like lead a two rather than the three. See if he plays the face, you play the three, and then maybe he pairs you.
I don't love it. I mean, if he pairs my 2, I'm kind of in trouble.
I don't know. I mean,
Um,
the three's cut, right? You feel
yeah,
pretty safe playing the four at that point, right? The getting the two paired is not the end of the world.
I would probably play the 4 over the 2, because if
Hmm.
he pairs the 4, I'm going to drop the 2 on it and then potentially get a run. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely led the 3 there. If I ever have deuce 3, no, deuce 3 4, I like to lead the 4 from that because people like playing nines, and you can get the deuces in late. But
Right. Yeah. If they have
yeah,
all faces in fives, your chances are you're going to run your twos for four there.
you
So,
could do that. Yeah, exactly.
although in that
Yeah,
spot, you're only winning that pegging 4 to 3 then, right? Because usually if that happens, then they're going to have a face five left over.
you could. Yeah. Yeah. And this again though, in this specific example, I'm just trying to get around that corner. I feel like if I get around the corner, I have a shot.
Okay. All right. Like we can disagree on that one a little bit. Again, makes for a good show. All right. So this is one that happened to me at Grassroots this week. I put in my normal 11-5 to not score. Um, but so I was first count in hole 68. My opponent is dealing in hole 71, and I was dealt the lovely hand of 6 7 8 9 Jack Queen. Terry Cushman, your breakdown of this one. I feel like this is like the test Terry to see if he'll break a hand spot. You are in hole 68. If not now, when, right? For breaking this one, just
Well,
what do you
I
think?
I've got some good news. Yeah, I will break this up. My initial thought was 6 queen, but I would actually throw 9 queen here, just to keep the ace or the 2 in play, for a couple extra points. But yeah, I mean it's a good defensive play. You need a big stop in this situation, and my gut reaction is Probably with the 9 in the crib. I might lead the 6 here, but I might wait for the cut as well to assess that. But I like the 6 lead, and if they play a face on it, if it's not a jack, I'd probably dump the 7 and then just keep the 8 face for the other side to try to continue to play keep away. But that's how I would tackle it.
I agree with the queen nine here. Right, and queen nine over queen six, like queen nine's just a more defensive throw to the crib, and this is certainly like a spot for defense. You're still holding 5, so you're not crazy about only getting to like 73 by the end of this one. But if this is not a spot that screams defense, I don't know what it is. But I'm curious what you said about like leading the 6, because to me, I philosophically, right? I don't want to lead the jack in this spot, especially then if they play like a middle card, then you have to just hold your nose and pair it. But also, right, then they have the 5 for 15, and then you don't have a great card to play after that as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play the jack. But for me, how I like to play this defensively is I would typically lead the 8, and then assuming same thought, right? If they play a face card, right? Maybe I want to play, but if I was going to play the 6 and they play a face card, I feel like I'd want to play the 8 in that if they have the 7, right? You lead the 6, they play a face card, and you play the 7, then that gives you the chance to get paired 2 and a go 3 instead of just 2, right?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, maybe in a live game where it's a little bit slower, I probably would have done that.
Okay.
But
And split cards for those listening, like, right? Like typically you want to try to not have connectors in your hand for pegging to not get smashed on. So if you're going to lead the 8, right, you don't love having 7-6. So if they play a face, right, you maybe don't want to play your jack because you don't get trapped with 6-7 on the end.
yeah.
So just for those maybe are kind of wondering what we're talking about and trying to how to avoid pegging and things like that. So just thoughts on that. But hey, we found one we agree on. That's a good thing, right? Like it's not a total shutout. So, and I feel proud. I that wasn't my plan with submitting this one. I submitted it because I thought it was an interesting hand, but I found a defense hand for Terry. How about that? It's like a personal accomplishment. You get like achievement, like ding, like okay. All right, a couple more here, and then we will get going here. Okay, so this I know Mike Delana selected this, sent in this one again, cribbagepodcast@gmail.com with your hands. So you are in hole 109. The opponent is dealing in hole 118. So they're dealing from 3 out. This is a pretty mission critical spot. Like you're going to lose this game far more often than you win this game. And he was dealt, and there's a flush in here, ace for 4, 9, 10 jack. If you decide to keep the flush, you would be holding 4, 9, 10 jack. Thoughts, Terry Cushman?
Oh, I feel like your odds are better if you chuck the 9-10 here and keep ace 4-4 jack. But I just feel you're so extremely limited here in terms of being able to try to navigate through the pegging, because it's essentially a 1-score game for them. If they pair 15-31, they're going to win because they'll get the automatic go for that one final point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably just going to keep the flush here, despite the odds probably being a little bit slimmer, and lead the 4. And if I miss the cut, I'm going to have to pair. I'm going to have to take whatever opportunities they give me. If they, for instance, throw the 9 on the 4. Typically, I'm quick to pair the 9 anyway and make it 22. Everyone thinks I'm nuts for doing that, but I would especially do it in this case if I miss the cut. But you've got 7, and if you can cut into the run there, you're out. I don't know what the ace of clubs gives you. That looks like probably 12, or at least a 5 of clubs. Let's see, 5 gives you 11. 5 of clubs gets you out. Yeah, so I would keep the flush for sure.
I agree with you on the flush. And you mentioned earlier, right, when you were talking about potentially throwing 9-10, I especially would not do it that way because 3 of your cuts to get to 12 points also lose you the game, right? If you cut the jack in this spot, um, there's not really a route to. I guess there is maybe. No, I don't think mathematically you can peg 12 points without them getting one as non-dealer with that hand. So the jack is not an out. It's also not an out with the even holding the flush, right? So really, you're looking at 6 outs. I guess you mentioned the 5 and the ace of clubs, so that would be 8 outs. And then still, you got to navigate the pegging. I do agree with you on pairing the 9 from a 4 lead, although that depends on my opponent in this spot, right? You have to know whether players are capable of certain types of plays, right? And like a super sharp player in this kind of spot is typically not going to hold a pair, right? They want the biggest spread of cards that they possibly can to pair as many cards, right? So if you have a 6 and a 9 in your hand, you don't want to hold them both. If you have a pair, you don't want to hold both of them if you can help it. Sometimes you just get dealt a hand where you have no choice. Like I think we both have probably been in spots like this where you're the dealer from 3 out here and you pick up your hand and it's all face cards and you go, well, great. I have no power in this hand whatsoever. So, but yeah, an interesting one there. Is there any spot where you lead anything other than the 4? Like if maybe with the cut, do you consider maybe trying to, just do something wacky, like lead the jack, see if maybe they play an ace on it or something?
Not if they're in the 118 hole, no.
I mean, I just feel like if I whiff this cut, right, and I only have 7 points, I'm curious of a path. I guess I'm trying to design a path where I peg 5 points. I guess maybe you play the 4, they play the 9, you pair it, right? Get 2, and then they run 2 other cards, and then maybe they're stuck with like a queen in their hand. There's a path, right? But I don't feel like there are many.
Yeah, I still think it's better to lead the 4 and then maybe just keep 2 of those running cards together, whatever makes sense based off their next play, and perhaps you can get a run for 3 and a go on the other side. Perhaps that doesn't get you out anyway, but that would be my mindset.
If you end up with enough, right, and you play the 4 and they play like a 9 on it, do you still pair it? Right? Like you cut, I don't know, say you cut a 10, right? You cut the 10 hearts here, and you lead the 4 and they play a 9 on it. Is it just for sure you're pairing that 100 times out of 100?
I would say so. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you play the 10 on it because you're not worried about the run.
Well, I mean, the 8 is bad, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
The jack potentially.
I feel like it's still safer to just pair it.
Okay, just thought exercise there. All right, I think I've got one more here, and then the rest. Oh, well, I don't know. We'll see. See what pops up here. Oh no, we went back to the other one. So why don't we do one more here? I think we're at, what is it? We're at about an hour 18. Let's do one more hand, and I cycle through these. There we go. And this one was submitted by, let me make sure I give credit here. This is from Doug. I always screw up his name. Weir. I think it's Weir.
I can't remember. I think he did.
I know. I know. I feel terrible about these. So sorry, Doug. Like, you the man. Thank you, by the way, to everybody who submitted hand. I have 3 more in the coffers from the mailbag. So Monica, Ezra, and the other one's yours. We will hit those next week. But all right. So you are in hole 81. All these have ended up as non-dealer hands. Interesting. Just thought on that. So you are in first count in hole 81. Your opponent is dealing in hole 68. And you are dealt the lovely hand of ace 5 5 7 8 9. Terry, this is one of these spots where I go, can I just get a bad hand, right? Can I just get a dead hand sometimes here? But you know what? This is a great spot to be in, right? Hole 81. This is one of those spots where you start thinking about skunk just a little bit, and that 3 on your scorecard can magically morph into a 0 very quickly. So two things at play. Let's assume that it's just it's game 3 of a 22 gamer, right? You don't have to have a skunk. It's not a playoff match where skunks don't matter. I think we can agree in a spot like this, if it is a playoff match where skunks do not apply in any capacity, there might be a different hold here, or at least less to consider.
Well, this might shock you, but I'll probably go defense here and just throw ace 9. You could throw the 7-8 and set yourself up for 10 to 12 pretty easily. You'll still be relatively out of position unless you peg really good. I think if I was going to take a slight risk, I might actually throw ace 5 here and keep 5, 7, 8, 9 and just hope for a middle. Obviously a 7 or an 8 gives you 12, and 9 still gives you the 10 that you would have had with the ace 5, 5, 9, assuming it was a face cut with that particular hold. But I'm comfortable with ace 9. They shouldn't kill me in the crib, and I got a good shot for at least 8 here.
Okay. If it is game 9 of a con and you have a 10-4, right? At this point, you have to throw the 7-8, don't you?
I think you're guaranteed not. I think you're guaranteed not to get a skunk if you do that. That's just my thoughts, but
I feel like you need a little luck to get a skunk in this spot, and I need to push as far as I can. And right, like 7-8, it's kind of can be all or nothing, right? They throw 2-3, and then you cut a king or something, and it's a 4-point crib. I think I don't love that option, but I also don't love trying to get a skunk dealing at 87 or something like that. Like you can still do it, but it's just your chances are pretty hurt. Like if I have to have a skunk here, I think I'm throwing the 7-8, but otherwise, yeah, I do feel like ace 9. What do you lead from 5-5, 7-8 from this spot? Right, you are in hole 81. They are at hole 68. Does the cut change your lead card from a spot like this ever?
It could. I mean, if you cut a 7 or an 8, I'd probably lead whatever matches the cut. I mean, I'm not against leading 5s. I don't know if I want to give them 2 points in that spot, but it might just depend on the opponent, like you said.
If I whiff the cut here, I don't want to lead a 5. I'll say that. Right? If we cut a 4,
yeah,
right? There aren't a lot of cuts that miss this completely, but if I cut a 4 or an ace, I'm especially not leading the 5. Then I kind of want to, I wouldn't mind trading a little bit.
I think you'd have to play the 8, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the 7 or the 8. And maybe I'm giving this away about myself, but like I exclusively lead 8s from hands like this. I don't ever lead the 7. Just like if you lead the 7 and they play the 8 for 15, right? It's just more dangerous to pair that 8 and potentially give up 31 from 8 rather than play the 8, they pair the 7. You just pair it, it's 2 fewer points, right? Just so as a policy, I tend to lead 8s from that spot far more than I would ever lead 7s.
What if you had 7, 7, 8, 9? Do you still lead the 8?
Yeah, usually. Like because if they pair me, then I feel like I'm reasonably safe just playing the 9 at that point, right? I can't give up another run.
See, I asked Locke that question because I feel like before I asked him, I was also leading the 8 more often than not. But he's like, no, you have to lead your pair. So there's certain things that I just take for the gospel with Rob and Eric, and so I made that adjustment, and yeah, but yeah.
Okay, I mean I'll hear anybody out on this one. Certainly Eric's. What is it? Somebody mentioned the Loch Ness monster. I don't know if that one's ever going to catch on with him, but yeah, I mean his voice speaks loudly about items like this. Although there's a few hands that I play differently than him, and I feel very strongly that he's wrong. But it's part of cribbage, right? Thinking you're doing things as you should. So, but okay, yeah, I just really don't like 7, 7, 8, 9, right? Like our 6, 7, 7, 8. I just really don't like the routes that happen if like if I lead the 7 and they play the 8 for 15. Like it's just like I guess every once in a while you just live with 31 for 8. It happens, but it also depends on my opponent and what kind of plays I think they are capable of. So just, food for thought. All right. Well, that was a fun show. We didn't even get in all the hands, and this is maybe one of the longest ones we've ever gone. I think we had a lot of fun chatting up, talking about old Grand Nationals. Maybe the next week's show where I will be in Deadwood, or perhaps in North Dakota. Maybe we get a few more stories. Hopefully, my hopes is just to, even if I don't qualify, if I don't do anything the whole stinking time, although I'll be a little ticked off if I don't. Like 24 points from Grandmaster for me. I really, really would like to hit that. It just, it'd be nice to have a couple of stories that come out of this whole thing. So hopefully it'll be a good time. Hopefully I hit the Powerball over the weekend, and the private jet will make a stop in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to pick you up and talk you into it. Just make a deal with your boss at some point. Like I'll make a call via the bat phone and just work it out for you.
Honestly, he would. I don't know if he'd say yes at the 11th hour, but if I hit him with it 2 weeks ago, he probably would have let me. But
I can be very convincing, right? It's not quite Kathy Perkins selling me on Raleigh, but we can. I can't promise you'll have a job once you come back, but off when you start. So.
Well, you could front me some money if you win the Powerball. I think I'd be all right.
Yeah, we'll make that work for sure. Like I get a lot of people in the ACC that will be getting a few bucks here or there if I were to ever hit it super large like that. All right. Well, before we get in more trouble on the air, we will sign off for this week. Thanks everybody for listening. Hope everybody has a great week. If you are traveling to Deadwood, please be safe. And say hi out there. So let's have a great time.